I walked into the kitchen and my husband just stared at me. "You always make a mess," he said. I wanted to scream. Then he went to bed like nothing happened. We've been married for 4 years now, and our intimacy has significantly declined to about once a week or every other week, including any form of physical closeness. At the beginning of our marriage, we were intimate almost daily, and I would love to keep that level of connection. However, over time, my husband has shown less and less interest, and now it feels like intimacy only happens when it's convenient for him. I end up just waiting for when he's in the mood, which honestly makes the experience far less fulfilling for me. It's also taking a toll on my self-esteem and body image. I've tried bringing this up with him, but he usually becomes uncomfortable and avoids the conversation, so I let it go. After about a year of this, when our intimacy had dwindled to just a few times a month, I reached a breaking point. I sat him down and told him we needed to address this because I was struggling to enjoy the rare times we were intimate. At first, he hesitated, saying he didn't want to upset me. I pushed him to be honest, and he finally admitted that my behavior reminds him of my mother, especially after I've seen her, and that it turns him off. Naturally, I was hurt. My relationship with my mother has been complicated, and I've only recently started reconnecting with her after working through childhood trauma. Hearing him say that felt like a gut punch. This isn't even the first time he's compared me to her, and I've previously asked him not to do that. Instead, I told him to point out specific behaviors that bother him so I can understand and address them, but he shut down and refused to discuss it further. I don't know how to handle this. The only noticeable change in me since we got together is that I've grown more confident as a woman and mother. My body has changed slightly, but I haven't gained weight, so I don't think that's the issue. I really want to work on our relationship, but he refuses to go to couples therapy, so I'm at a loss. Does anyone have any advice? I'm sure many of you have heard similar stories. Despite having multiple discussions over the past 2 years, my husband never takes initiative with chores or responsibilities in our lives. I'm always the one reminding him to do things, and if I don't, they simply don't get done. About 6 months ago, he admitted that he had started resenting me because of this. So, we made an agreement. I would stop telling him what to do, as long as he actually followed through on his promises. I held up my end of the deal, but within a few days, he didn't. We had agreed on a fair division of responsibilities. Since I wake up early to work out and make breakfast, he would wake up with our child and take her to daycare before work. After work, I would pick her up, cook dinner, and handle the bedtime routine, while he would clean the kitchen. But every single night, I walked out after bedtime to find the kitchen untouched. It was frustrating and hurtful. I used to get upset and remind him how much it mattered to me, but he would just brush me off, saying he'd do it in the morning, which, at best, happened about 25% of the time. Since we had an agreement, I stopped nagging. I ignored the mess and went to bed because I had to be up in 7 hours. I let him be responsible for what he had agreed to. 2 months later, our kitchen was still a disaster. Moldy food sat out for days, crumbs covered the floor, and dishes piled up in the sink. Eventually, I gave up and started cleaning whenever I had time, learning to cook and clean simultaneously, stressful with a child, but I managed. Sometimes, there was a week's worth of dishes to wash, and since we don't have a dishwasher, it took me forever to catch up. I was always the one cleaning after bedtime, while he just lay in bed, even though I wake up 2 hours earlier than he does. The worst part? Whenever he did wash the dishes, he would complain and yell at me for letting them get so dirty, even though he had agreed to handle it. So, I stopped relying on him altogether. For the past 2 months, I've done everything on my own, and honestly, it's made me lose respect for him. He acts like a child, constantly complaining, never putting in effort, always too tired and grumpy. Then today, I had a glimmer of hope. He actually suggested a date night, something he never does. He said he'd rent a movie, and after bedtime, we'd watch it together. I was so excited. I even made a special dinner and put our child to bed. She took a little longer to settle, but I didn't mind. I assumed he would at least clean up so we could enjoy our evening. I was wrong. He didn't even bother putting lids on the pans or tidying up. He just turned off the kitchen lights and left the mess for me again. It felt like my heart shattered. I cleaned the kitchen alone while he sat at the counter watching YouTube, not saying a word. When I finished, we went to bed, and he just lay down and went to sleep. No movie, no acknowledgement of my effort. It hurt so much. I was really hopeful this time. He gets mad at me for not treating him like a man, but how can I when he refuses to be dependable? I feel exhausted and unappreciated. Any advice on what I should do? Update. This is just a vent about some of the things my husband has done that I've brushed off for far too long. During one of his breakdowns, he told me he wanted to punch me so badly and even threatened to beat me up. All I had asked was for him to show me that he loves me. He later said he needed a punching bag so he wouldn't end up hitting me instead. He's told me that if I ever leave him, he'll end his own life. Every year on my birthday, he somehow makes me cry and becomes aggressive. When he gets angry, his eyes turn almost black, and it terrifies me. He knows this and will stare me down when I try to talk to him. I have a recording of him ranting about how much he hates me and how he wants to push me off the bed most nights. If I start crying around him, he gets irritated and says things like, "Why are you crying again?" If I have an anxiety attack and try to step away, he physically restrains me. Right after I gave birth to our daughter, he fell asleep and stayed that way all night. I had already been awake for more than 24 hours before labor, and after delivery, I couldn't sleep because the baby was up and my anxiety was overwhelming. When I tried waking him, he just glared at me and went back to sleep. It's been 2 years, and that moment still haunts me. He didn't show me any care or extra attention after I gave birth. He took a week off from work but did absolutely nothing to help at home. I was still cooking, cleaning, and taking care of everything while managing a newborn. 3 weeks postpartum, I fainted from exhaustion, and instead of supporting me, he got mad and blamed me for not eating enough, without acknowledging that I barely had the energy to make food for myself. When I tried to open up about my mental struggles 3 months postpartum, he turned it into a rant about how I wasn't keeping up with laundry or making food on time. I ended up apologizing and promising to do better, while he never once acknowledged his own lack of effort. Looking back, it infuriates me that he never even tried to apologize. He completely ignored my postpartum struggles. I cried every single day for nearly a year, and he never once made an effort to be caring or supportive. I was drowning in sleep deprivation and depression, and I couldn't pull myself out of it until I started working again when our baby turned 1. He eventually started helping out more at home, but he constantly uses his lack of a proper father figure as an excuse for his incompetence. Yet if I ever bring up my own struggles from growing up without a strong mother figure, he blows up on me. He criticizes everything I do. Even if I ask a simple question, his response always turns into a jab about something completely unrelated. Honestly, I could go on and on. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. I've put up with this for far too long. OOP's comment. Commenter, did he show this behavior before you got married and had kids with him? OOP, looking back, there were definitely warning signs in our relationship. One major thing I forgot to mention, when I opened up to him about being assaulted, he literally got up and walked away. He then gave me the silent treatment for an entire week. At the time, I was 19, and we had been together for about a year. I actually blamed myself for telling him, thinking I had done something wrong. I also ignored how quickly he would get angry, and I didn't even realize when I started walking on eggshells around him. However, the physical aggression didn't start until this year, so I never saw that coming. Update. First off, I never expected my post to get so much attention. Thank you to everyone who shared advice. I've tried to read as many replies as possible. A lot of people have asked for an update, so here's what's happening now. I haven't left him. At least, not yet. After my last post, I felt a surge of confidence and was fully prepared to leave. But then, out of nowhere, he woke up one morning acting like a completely different person. I'm not exaggerating, the change was drastic. That day, he made me breakfast while I worked out, helped with lunch, kissed me multiple times, and sent me off to work with an "I love you." I assumed it was a one-time thing, but even after coming home, his attitude hadn't shifted. He went from being angry every morning and every night to suddenly being sweet and affectionate overnight. At first, it felt bizarre, but after a full week of him treating me well, my plans to leave started to crumble. I felt completely lost. He also started working overtime while I switched to part-time, which made our previous issues with household chores disappear. On top of that, he now cleans the kitchen while I put our child to bed, something that used to be our biggest source of conflict. It's been 3 weeks now, and honestly, I feel like I'm living in a dream. I haven't told him I was planning to leave, and I don't know if I will. But I can't shake this uneasy feeling, like there's some hidden motive behind his sudden change. He even planned a date night and showed me affection afterward, which is completely out of character for him. I keep waiting for his usual aggression to resurface. Sometimes, he still gives me that same unsettling look with his dark, intense eyes, but he hasn't done or said anything aggressive. Still, something about it makes me feel on edge. My mental health has been spiraling too. I feel lost. Today, he was upset because I slept in, and even though he didn't yell or act aggressively, I found myself feeling anxious. I'm scared that if I do something to upset him, he'll go back to how he was before. So that's where I'm at right now. Thank you again to everyone who took the time to support me. I'm sorry if this update isn't what you were hoping for. Mini update. Hi, I'm doing okay. My mental health isn't great, but otherwise, I'm fine. I have an emergency plan in place, but for some reason, I'm still staying. If I do decide to leave, I'll post an update. Update. My husband and I have been struggling with relationship issues. I've been hesitant to leave, mainly because we have a child together, but also because I still care about him. A few months ago, things got really dark. He said and did a lot of hurtful things, though he never physically hurt me or did anything in front of our child. I had reached my breaking point and was ready to leave. But when I tried, he completely broke down and begged me to stay, so I did. Since then, he's changed. He treats me more like an equal, has been going to therapy consistently for 4 months, and has started opening up to me in ways he never did before. I've also noticed that he seems warmer toward others, not just me. Recently, while we were driving, we started talking about his younger brother, who's 22. I mentioned something his brother had told me about his girlfriend, and out of nowhere, my husband admitted that his brother had told him to treat me better. I was shocked. I never thought anyone noticed or had opinions about our relationship, especially since I never spoke to anyone about it. When I asked what happened, my husband seemed embarrassed and brushed it off, saying his brother just kinda yelled at him for not treating me like a woman. What surprised me even more was that my husband admitted, directly to me, that he hadn't treated me well. I didn't know how to respond, so the conversation just ended there. Since then, he's been bringing things up at random moments, asking what I like and how I'd like to be treated. My question is, how should I respond to this? Should. Update. We had my husband's best friend and his wife over last night. We don't usually drink or stay up late, but since they had left their child with their in-laws and we had put our child to bed, it was the first time we were all together without kids since becoming parents. My husband has been best friends with this guy since before we met, and I've always liked his wife. Over the past year, we've grown close enough to call each other best friends. We stayed up late and had a great time. Around 1:30 a.m., my daughter woke up, so I called it a night. I was done drinking and feeling tired, so I laid down with her and fell asleep in her room. A little while later, my friend came into my daughter's room and said she needed to talk. She admitted that she had confronted my husband about how she felt about his behavior, and he ended up crying. She told me she apologized to him and also to me, saying she may have had too much to drink and shouldn't have said anything. I just shook my head and told her it was late and that maybe everyone was just exhausted. After a hug, they left. My husband went straight to bed without saying a word, so I figured I'd bring it up later. This morning, he was in a terrible mood. I woke up early with our daughter and let him sleep in, but around 11 a.m., I told him he needed to get up so we could clean and get ready for church, something we've done every Saturday for the past 3 years. I even suggested that after cleaning, we could take a nap with our daughter if he was still tired. It took him 30 minutes to get out of bed, and even when he did, he just lay around on his phone. I kept reminding him that we needed to get moving, but he ignored me every time. Eventually, I got tired of nagging and just cleaned by myself while he continued to do nothing. Later, I sat down and asked him about last night. He grumbled that I must have told my friend he was a horrible person, which led to her confronting him. I was shocked and immediately told him that I never talked to her about our marriage problems. She's my friend, yes, but I don't discuss our relationship with anyone. He just shrugged and said that she told him he doesn't treat me well and that he needs to grow up. The irony is, his behavior today only reinforced what she said. I wanted to tell him she was right, but I held back. Instead, I just told him I appreciated my friend having my back but reassured him that her comments were based on her own observations, not anything I told her. He brushed it off, saying she must have misunderstood something. It's interesting that not long ago, his younger brother also called him out for how he treats me, as I mentioned in a previous post. Their words have made me feel more confident about my own feelings toward him and our marriage. I'm tired of always being the bigger person. I already have one foot out the door, and the only thing he does to try to make me stay is cry. Edit to add, a few days later, my friend told me that while he was crying, he complained that I make him do everything and that I'm such a liberal. I have no idea what that even means. Update. So, I left him. Everyone was right about him. I'm safe now, staying with my daughter and my little brother. It's been a few weeks since I walked away. Even after my last post, I won't lie, I still held on to hope for him. But what finally pushed me to leave wasn't just the way he treated me. It was the fact that, despite his verbal abuse and eventual threats of physical violence, he still acted like I was the one who needed to apologize to him. It wasn't just that he mistreated me, it was the way he stomped around, throwing tantrums like a child, yelling at me and my daughter, making her anxious. That was the breaking point. Even then, I still tried to be kind. I asked him what was wrong, tried to talk to him. And as always, he just looked at me, that same cold, unblinking stare that made me feel so small, like I was nothing. He wouldn't say a word, just stared until I had to look away. Something in me just switched. Mentally, I was already gone. That night, I put my emergency plan into motion. I had already made one months ago when he first threatened me. A few days later, while he was at work, I left for good. I won't share too many details in case he ever sees this, but I have a new job, a new apartment, and I'm in a new city, wherever I want to be. And it feels so freeing. My daughter doesn't seem to care, which somehow makes me both happy and heartbroken at the same time. I should have done this sooner, 1 month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. She's just happy that she gets to go to the park more often now with her uncle. My brother even told me he's relieved he doesn't have to hear the yelling anymore. My family keeps calling. My mom says I'm making a huge mistake, that I'm embarrassing myself. But I'm done explaining. I don't know anyone my side of the story. His family keeps calling me too. His mother apparently is in the hospital because of a stress-induced attack from this. My sister-in-law sent me nasty texts and called me until I blocked them. My now ex keeps calling me too. I hate it. It makes me feel sick to my stomach. My brother-in-law only sent me one text and it says, "Good for you, I hope find a better life." It makes me feel somewhat comforted with this whole situation. I hope he's right though. So that's my update. This will be my last time posting on here. I'm probably going to delete my account actually, and plus I'm completely done with relationships and will probably never get into one again, but thank you to everyone who took time to comment and message me. I seriously feel like each one slowly built my confidence bit by bit. I know I'm a bad person for not doing it on my own, so I thank all of you sincerely for helping me. I owe everyone my new life. I wasn't going to post at first, but it feels nice to get this all off my chest. I feel like I'm going to explode with pent-up emotions lately. Edit to add. By the way guys, I lied in all my posts about my age. I'm actually 21. I'm not sure why I lied, but it's nice to be out there about it. I'm 21. OOP's comments. On his mother's hospitalization. Commenter, I call BS on his mom being in the hospital due to stress. If that's not a lie, then such an overdramatic reaction is reason enough to GTFO. Proud of you. OOP, no, she actually has been in the hospital frequently due to stress. Her husband is the root of it all. My ex is exactly like his father, except his father is even worse. She works, does all the parenting and housework, while her husband and all the kids just sit around watching TV or gaming. No one helps her, and she ends up hospitalized from exhaustion and stress. I do feel bad for her because I know my ex probably ran straight to her, crying. But at the same time, I don't feel bad at all, because she also left me nasty messages blaming me for ruining him and his life. So, yeah. Answering some questions. I don't have legal custody of my brother yet, but he's been living with me for the past 2 years. I have records of it, so I'm considering making it official soon. I was 19 when I had my daughter and 17 when we got together. I didn't lie about his age. Commenter, now that you're the age he was when you started dating, could you imagine dating a 17-year-old? OOP, F no. On OOP's family. Oh, I already know that no matter what I say, my family will never take my side. That's why I'm not even bothering to explain myself. I tried to bring up his behavior a long time ago, and my mom just ran and told the whole family everything I said. I'm working with a professional to ensure that my mother never gets custody of my child or my brother, even if something happens to me. My little sister, 18, is on my side. She's trying to sort out work and college stuff, but she'll be staying with me for the summer. At least I have her as my backup. OOP has previously shared about being parentified from a young age. She posted on March 10th, 2 days before her final update, revealing her true age and breaking down the full timeline. Another post from OOP. Title, I've been parenting since I was 8. Edited note, this was a 2 a.m. vent post during an emotional moment, but for some reason, I don't want to delete it. Here's my story, maybe someone will read it. I've never told anyone before, and honestly, I'm feeling incredibly lonely. When I was 2, my mom had my little sister. People say I became very withdrawn after she was born, barely cried at all, and that it was eerie. As I got older, most of my memories involve being alone. I dressed myself, walked alone to the bus stop, half a mile away, in the dark, for kindergarten. When I was 7, my mom had my little brother. After that, I barely remember seeing her outside her room. At first, I watched over him and my sister for a few hours at a time. But as he got older, I was put in charge more and more. By the time I was 8, I was fully responsible for my siblings from morning to night whenever I was home. Mom barely left her room anymore, or sometimes she disappeared for days, especially in the summer or on weekends. I became their parent, I fed them, took care of them, comforted them. When my sister started school that year, I constantly worried about my little brother being home alone. The stress made me physically sick, but at least when I was sick, I could stay home with him. Thankfully, he was always okay when I got back. I started realizing that my mom probably came out of her room while we were at school, but the moment we got home, she was gone again, leaving him to play alone in our room. As we got older, I was expected to clean the house on top of everything else. If it wasn't spotless, I got punished, physically and mentally. The mental punishments were the worst. For example, if my mom ate something at midnight, I would get in trouble if the kitchen wasn't perfectly cleaned the next morning. I cooked all the meals, deep cleaned weekly, took care of my siblings, yet I was constantly yelled at, punished, and grounded. In case you're wondering where my dad was, he was usually gone. He'd be home once a month, and those were my happiest moments. But I later found out he was just drinking himself into hospitals. From ages 10 to 15, that was my life. We moved around constantly, so I never had lasting friendships. I developed severe social anxiety from my mom's mental punishments. She made sure I was grounded anytime I actually had plans, so after rejecting invitations 3 times in a row, people stopped calling. My sister struggled too. She was feisty, always picking fights, always looking for trouble, but deep down, she was just lonely, desperate to make friends. She was bullied badly, and I spent so much time trying to stop her from sneaking out or texting boys. I fought with her constantly. Now, looking back, I wish I had just hugged her and been there for her instead. She moved out at 17, cut off everyone except me and our brother. Now she has a lot of friends. My brother, on the other hand, was incredibly smart and creative, reading, drawing, playing Minecraft before he even turned 5. But he was emotionally unstable because he only had me as a role model. And how do you parent someone when you never had a real parent yourself? He started becoming violent and harming himself. I didn't know what to do until I took parenting classes at 16, and that's when I finally learned how to help him. Now he's the sweetest kid, I swear. He still wants to be a computer engineer. By 15, I had a stable part-time job. I'd been babysitting and doing odd jobs since I was 10 just to buy my own clothes. I juggled work, school, a college class, funded by the school, parenting my siblings, managing the house, though they helped a little by then, cooking all the meals, taking them to events, buying everything they needed. On top of that, I cared for my mentally unstable grandmother, long story, and was forced to be a mediator for my parents' fights. And, of course, my mother still physically and mentally abused me. I had panic attacks weekly, sometimes 3 times a week. Nosebleeds. I never let myself cry or process anything, and now it's all catching up to me. At 17, I met him, my now ex-husband. He was always an asshole, but back then, I saw him as my savior. He was 21. My sister never liked him. He proposed when I was still 17, and I was too scared to say no. We got married when I turned 18, just a year into the relationship. It was a mistake. I got pregnant just as I started college. Turns out, he had poked a hole in the condom. After our daughter was born, he got worse, threatening to beat me, among other things. That was my life from 18 to 21. It took me that long to finally leave. So here I am, almost 22, in a new apartment with my daughter and my brother. My brother, now 14, acts like he's protecting me. And I don't have the heart to tell him the truth, that he's only staying with me because he has nowhere else to go. Our parents don't take care of him. But honestly, I count him as my own anyway. Life sucks. But I have my 2 kids with me. If you read this far, you're crazy, this was so long. But thank you.